just love that video.
I love that intro.
You did such a good job.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to my weekly Meltdowns rewatch of Survivor 20. Heroes versus villains. I'm so excited to be talking about this season. This is my favorite season of Survivor. It's not even close. I can't wait. Allison, how are you doing?
I just want to say, one thing about the rewatch, I'm probably going to call it Winners at War a million times, so just deal with it. And second, I did not miss Randy Bailey at all. The minute he popped up on the screen, I was like, oh, this guy. Okay.
Well, he doesn't last too long.
He always looks like a confused rat to me. Just like
he just looks like he just crop dusts everyone when he's passive aggressively crop dusts people.
Yeah. Well, he is the only
that's right.
He is the only wedding photographer that's been cast on Survivor. So I feel like if I am ever cast on Survivor, I have a pretty low bar to step over in terms of character.
I don't know. The pure fact he was invited back for Heroes versus Villains is something we should give. No, I'm not going to give him props.
Yeah. No, let's just not. I just brought it up because I didn't miss his ass. And hello to Roy the Virgo, who was first in the chat. Pokemon, we love you too. Yep, thank you. You're the two that are here.
No, it's just we got 11 here.
Actually, I forgot to tweet out that we're live. I'm going to do that while we are chatting.
Yes. So before we get into it, I want to play a little video that my good friend Teresa sent me that kind of inspired this rewatch, because I didn't know that it was number 7 on Netflix until she sent me this video. And it also made me admit that I'm a total loser for being so into this stuff. But you know what? I embrace it. Whatever. Heroes versus Villains is the best. I'm just going to play it because it's really funny.
Why is Survivor number 7 in the U.S. today? That is fucking depressing. Seriously.
You can thank Tyler Lyons for that.
The show's 27 years old. Why is it number?
Yeah, so that's
for the record, it's 20 years, so calm down.
I mean, that's what like everybody says when I like talk about Survivor to like a normal person. They're like, that show's still on? I can't believe that. What season is it on? And I'm like, yeah, it's still on, and it's still one of the best shows of all time. But we're going to be talking about the best season of all time from one of the best shows of all time, Heroes versus Villains. Now, before we get into like recapping the episode, I just want to like hype up the season a little bit, just because like I've been saying, I feel like this is like the best of the best, and I feel like the Villains tribe in particular easily like the best tribe in Survivor history. If you go like pound for pound, like each person on the cast, like with the exception of like maybe Randy, maybe Sugar, like we talked about, everybody is just like a star-studded member of this cast, and every single vote is like so complex, so layered with like these pre-existing relationships that they acknowledge on the show. They don't try to like sweep under the rug like Big Brother does, which is really refreshing. Everybody just brought their A game to play. This is, in my opinion, this is Parvati's like best performance out of every season that she played. We get to see the rise and fall of Russell Hantz. We get to see Sandra Diaz-Twine become the first 2-time winner in Survivor history. That doesn't happen.
Spoiler! I'm just kidding.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And that doesn't happen again until 10 years later, Survivor 40 that we just covered.
Which
also
was
like
happen because everybody was a winner in that. So of course, unless it was going to be Sandra, there was going to of course be one. So she came back, was the OG returning winning queen. But actually, on the spoiler front, I am just going to say this straight up. We are going to refer to things that happen throughout the entirety of the season. So what we encourage you to do is, if you have not seen this season and you don't care about spoilers, please hang out and chill out with us. And then you can look for those things as you watch it. Or take a pause. If you want to have us, muted in the background to give us a view, we appreciate that. But come back and watch these after you've watched the season if you don't want to be spoiled. Because even though we are going to focus on episodes 1 and 2, we're going to be spoiling things left and right. You have had 10 years to watch this season. So we're We're gonna go out there.
But I'm like a lot of you. I can't remember a lot of this season because I'm a lot older than these two, and my memory's not the same. And I'm just saying, because I totally forgot Randy was in this episode, but I cannot say I was so happy to see Colby because hey, but did you notice? And you know, because this is real play. This is no idols.
They're idols.
There's idols, but I mean, there was no idols in the first 2 episodes. They legit have to play, no hidden immunity idols, nothing. Russell getting salty over Rob. I mean, it was just fun. It's just fun to watch.
Yeah,
I'm not.
We'll get into the challenge for the bag, but one thing that for context here, okay, there's 2 things to keep in mind. The season previous to this one was Samoa, which Russell had played in and got in 2nd place, was also the first player to go out and just find idols without clues. Normally you had clues, and then once you got a clue, you would go look for an idol. And he said, why would I wait for a clue? And he just looked in random places, eventually found these idols and kind of really broke the game. And a lot of the people in Heroes and Villains didn't know what to make of Russell because they either hadn't watched this season yet or had only seen a smidgen of that season before they started filming this one. So when Jeff Probst in the very beginning, they have the epic helicopter scene, they come flying in and he says, Russell, what does it feel like to be on this tribe? And he's looking all around. He's like, well, I'm here with all these other villainous legends and such. I'm sure that they're all looking at him like, who is this guy? So kind of keeping that in mind is a pretty interesting concept, and it kind of explains perhaps why he gets away with some of the stuff he does this season.
Yeah, totally. So Jeff, actually, I think that the only thing that they were told about Russell Hantz going into this season is he is one of the biggest villains in Survivor history. They didn't go into like anything else. So that's the only thing that like all of these players knew going into this game about Russell, which I think is a little bit of an unfair advantage to not have like his first season kind of be on display and like fresh in everybody's minds. And he had like just come off from playing that season to filming. I think there was only like a month or 2 overlap between finishing filming of Samoa and then going out for Heroes versus Villains. So everybody's like, who is this guy? But also Russell, on the other hand, he didn't really know a lot about the players either. I actually listened to some interviews and some podcasts about the premiere and stuff like that. And a big thing is like Russell is just trying to copy and paste his strategy from the previous season, which is to align with all the dumb girls. And so we see immediately, like right when he gets to the beach, he's going up to Danielle. He's going up to Parvati and saying, I want to go to the end with you. I want you to be my ride or die. And we see just like a montage of him playing like that same exact script over and over and
Which
over
is
again.
funny, given that Parvati is not a dumb girl, which
yeah.
I feel like the only one, and it does work out for him in this way later on in the season, that he actually can consider a dumb girl in the villains tribe is Danielle.
Yeah.
Ooh, sorry.
You know, it gets me. It's like my son was doing laundry last night, which forced him into the living room with me. And I was watching the first 2 episodes, and Rupert, like he always remembers Rupert. He was like, oh my God, it's Rupert again. And then Captain Obvious comes in, and it's like he always has like, does this guy play every season? He's always here. And he's like, and then Boston Rob, he's like, wasn't he just on the show? And I'm like, yeah, just go away. Like you don't, I'm not explaining myself.
It's actually pretty fun to see, like, so we like just finished covering Winners at War, and it's cool to like go back 10 years ago and see Rob then and then see Rob like now. and just see like the evolution of like all of these like amazing players over the years. It's very rewarding to have kept up with the show for this long, to see like all of these people in different stages of life. I mean, like this Parvati that we see is like the big flirt, where like the Parvati that we saw just a couple months ago in Winners at War, she's like a mom and like a big yogi. So just like lots of different stages of life with these like great, amazing characters. But that's actually really important that you brought up like the Rupert of it all, right? Because like we need to like kind of go back in time to like what was it, like 2010 that this season came out. So Rupert was like he was like the Janelle of Survivor in terms of like popularity with America. Rupert had like, he won I think he won like $1 million in Survivor All-Stars for like an America's Vote type of thing. So going into the season, like the intro shots of like them on the helicopter, they show like Coach's dragon tattoos. They show the Boston Red Sox hat. They show the tie-dye shirt. They show Jerry's straw hat. You know, all of these like really strong symbols that you just see that symbol, you don't even see their face, and you immediately know like, oh, that's who this person is. Like I can't stress enough, like this is like the best cast that Survivor has ever had and ever will have, and that's including Winners at War.
I mean, the opening competition.
I mean, Winners at War had a very group. Oh no, I was just gonna say Winners at War had a very specific group that they had to read from, and yes, some of them. So there's, just because you win the game doesn't mean you're necessarily the best player of that game, right? In terms of a lot of the different values and such that you go into playing a game. It means that you bested the group, but it doesn't mean that you're the best player. So Winners at War was interesting in that there were really 3 tiers of winners. There were the best of the best that have ever played this game. There were people who were solid players, but aren't the big names. And then there were people who are either overhyped or completely unrecognizable from anything strategy. Like, you know what I mean? Like there were names that you just look at and go, like I would have considered going into Winners at War that Tony, in my opinion, was an overhyped winner. But he proved it to me in Winners at War that he knew what the hell he was doing.
Who would you who would you
so just little things like that.
Sorry, go ahead. Beth, I think your internet's like cutting out a little bit. But yeah, I mean,
my internet's been going in and out. Yeah,
let's see. Okay, so sorry guys, we're dealing with like internet problems and stuff like that. But so they have all the helicopters like bring them down into the pit where like Jeff introduces them all into the heroes and villains, and Sandra's the only one that raises her hand. She says, "I'm on the wrong tribe. I should be with the heroes." And if that isn't like a big foreshadow for like what's to come like this season, then I don't know what is, because Sandra will spend this entire season fighting against the villains, fighting against Russell and his like army that he has created.
God, I love it. I love those two sparring off. It's so good.
It's such a game of like cat and mouse all season long. It's really, really great. But I really liked this intro where they do like the sandbag wrestling. And I feel like they really don't get like that physical in like modern Survivor anymore.
Oh no, because boobs are, Sugar's tits are out flying everywhere. And it's funny because Captain Obvious said, "Why are they blurring that out? It's on Netflix." And I'm like, "Shush."
That's a good point. But yeah, I mean, like it was so physical. Like Stephanie was like, she had her shoulder popped out, and Stephanie's such a badass. I really love Stephanie as a character. And I think we'll get into it when we talk about episode 2 and like her downfall. But I was really excited to see her back in particular. She's one of my favorite players just because like I really loved her story of being like the last tribe mate on Survivor Palau, and instead of emerge, she just like picks up her stuff and like goes to the other tribe. And I think like that's the reason that we have tribe swaps today, is because of that season. But she's such a badass. Like she's like, I don't want to see medical. I don't want to be pulled from the game. Just give me 1 second to just kind of.
She's like, what happens if I see medical?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Well, I'd be helicopter. They'd be helicoptering my ass back to Ponderosas.
Yeah.
If I had that kind of injury. But you have to think about it. Like they said in the chat, Rupert broke a damn toe.
Mm-hmm.
We had everybody was getting hurt, but you know what? They all took it and they all went with it. And by the way, Beth is restarting her computer.
Yeah.
If anyone is wondering, she's not. She didn't just leave.
I kicked her out.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, and that just goes to show like we really start the season on like such a high note with like how important the stakes are. Like the fact that like Stephanie's like not wanting to see a medic, the fact that like Rupert's like not taking himself out because of a broken toe. That's a pretty serious injury. I don't think it really changes too much if Rupert doesn't break his toe. I don't really think he's all that of like a competitor or anything. No. But so they do the reward challenge for fire, and heroes win that. But one thing that gets a lot of attention is Coach drags Colby all the way to
it made me uncomfortable. Like the way he was mounting him, it was very like maybe he was enjoying that a little too much. I don't know. But Coach trips me out anyway. So
yeah. So like, were you? I know you were like a big like Colby fan. Like, how did you feel like seeing Colby kind of fizzle out there when he used to be such a competitor?
I've never wanted to be another man so much in my life as I wanted to be Coach in that moment, grabbing him from behind and just riding him and dragging him where I wanted him to go.
And I don't really know what to think.
He's such a beast. Mm-hmm. But like you said, it's been a minute since he played. It's been a minute. And these guys and women, these people, they come back and it's been some time, and it's like getting back on a bike. It's a little wobbly at first, but then you get your bearings. And what was it Tyson said about Colby?
Tyson, I think he was like, I think, what did he say? He was like, Colby needs to I think he's worried that he's actually not a man because he feels so like demasculated by Coach dragging him. And it's true. I mean, Coach is older than Colby, and Colby was really known as like the golden boy, like back in Survivor Australia, back when like
children after him and their dogs.
Back when like 45 million people were watching this show. So he was like a big hero, and to see him come back and kind of like, of course, like right when we get to the Heroes Tribe, one of the first things we see him do is talk to Candace, and he's like, wait, so who are these people? Who's Sari? And I'm like, oh my God, like you don't at least like do your homework before you come out here. That was a little disappointing to me. Watch
the damn show even when you're not on it anymore and you lose, because you never know, you might be asked to come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I feel like you can't have the heroes versus villains at that time without Colby, right? Like he's probably like, yeah, that's true. So Colby and Jerry have played together all 3 times that they've played, which is really interesting. But I think I've said on this podcast many times before, like Jerry Manthe she is like reality TV royalty. And so she actually just did like a long form interview, just like catching up with Rob on Rob Has a Podcast. And I just like enjoyed hearing from her so much. And she said that she would play Survivor again.
Of course, she should. I would watch it.
Well, here's the thing. I think that if Jerry never plays again, I feel like this season is like a really satisfying finish for her, because like America really hated her in Survivor Australia. And then she was like booed off stage at the reunion for Survivor All-Stars, which is like so terrible and would never happen today. But like she comes back here. She plays a really great game, and she is like seconds away from winning the final immunity and potentially winning this season. And she was like, just like really beloved, like coming out of the season. So I feel like it's a really nice, like 3-season arc for Jerry this season.
Yeah. I love Jerry. Hey, the meaner, the better. I'm a huge Sandra Twine fan, Sandra Diaz Twine fan. So, but yeah, I was watching it, and I'm not gonna lie, the issue with the chickens. I had an issue with the choking the chickens. and wrangling the chickens. I know they got to eat, but Russell swinging it around and whoever else,
JT
beating it. I could do without it. But I know it's Survivor, so don't come at me. I had people shit all over me when I bitched about the goat a few years ago when they were killing the goat. Like, what is it? Because I made the mistake of saying, why do you have to kill the goat? You're going to be on Ponderosa in a few days anyway. And they were like, what are you talking about? It's Survivor. You have to survive. What, have you never watched the show before? Take a seat before. Close your mouth when you're talking to me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I missed a lot, but this is the number one comment that I wanted to discuss today.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, in what world is Candace a hero? And secondly, she's not even a good villain. She certainly wasn't a good game player. Why is she on the season? Let's discuss.
I couldn't even remember who she was.
So she was on Cook Islands, and she's one of the two people, including Jonathan Penner, who mutinied, left her tribe so that she could be with her showmance who was on the other tribe. And she wasn't a strategic threat. And she certainly came across as kind of like an entitled person.
I think like Jeff Probst probably like viewed that mutiny as like a heroic act, even though like it wasn't. But I feel like she's probably one of the people that was probably like a last minute like alternate or something. That's my guess. I mean, like it has been confirmed that like Natalie Bolton was out there as like an alternate for this season, which would have been really amazing.
But Natalie Bolton probably would have been a villain, right?
Yeah. So Danielle De Laurentiis, I always like say her last name incorrectly, but Danielle took her spot. Natalie was an alternate for her. But
I would have loved to have seen a Parvati Natalie like both on the villains tribe, while Sari and Amanda were on the heroes.
Yeah, and I think that's actually like a good segue into. I think that's probably the reason why Natalie was not brought onto the season was like the Micronesia connection was just like way too strong this season.
That would have been the fifth person on the season. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's something else. It just the answer to your question, Joseph Boza, it's 2010. Okay, 2020 is a completely different planet we're living on now. You can't do anything or say anything without making somebody cry. So 10 years ago, PETA just wasn't even on the radar. Just saying.
And that's the thing, too. Like, PETA would absolutely not understand the context of the show, which is that the producers don't have food for them. Exactly to your point. That they would think that the producers would have food for them. And you're like, no, they're literally surviving. Do you see them putting together a shelter made of leaves and sticks and bamboo? Like,
yeah. Right. I mean, look, God, Boston Rob had a nervous breakdown, for God's sake, for sleeping in the rain.
I can't wait to talk about that.
I know.
It's like so close to his face. It's like, it's getting the best of me.
You need the tear. The tear just is
the camera work is just so bad.
I gotta stop.
I love the game too much.
Y'all are freaking me out right now.
I just gotta start being an asshole to everyone. It's because I tried to be a good person.
Please, Jeff, put me on a season with all recruits. I have to win, please.
I have to be able to whip people into shape the first day. This is day 3. I'm not able to do it. Make a season where it's really dumb people and I win.
Where's Amber?
And I can't leave my one child at this time in order to not win.
This is true. Real Edge of Extinction confessional.
Oh,
that's true.
God, I forgot.
They're like so close. But yeah, so of course, like, so we start off at the villains camp. Jerry and Coach flirting right away. What do you guys think about this little flirt man's here?
Ew. I'm not. It's like watching my aunt and my uncle go on a date, and I'm not there for it. No, just not in front of me. Not in front of the children.
You know what I don't mind about this, and what I actually think is great, is that you have a villain's tribe that is so out for blood, in a strategic sense that they are all genuinely fine with a showman's happening.
I don't give a
Because
shit.
they know that now we can get rid of Jerry and stuff. But you see them, and none of them are being snarky or mean about their feelings for each other. They're all like, well, you might find love on this island. Like,
It's because it's 2010, Beth.
oh, I know. And that's what I'm saying I like about it. It's not a forced thing by production. It's almost a forced thing by the players, which is way more interesting and fun to watch. And it's not snarky and mean, even though it's the villains tribe. Because the best part about this is you're back to people who play the game. And the villains tribe, the reason why they're villains is because they're willing to do anything and everything to play the game. They don't care if you're your best friend or not. They will find a way to overtake you in the end. And that's why I think it's great, because they probably genuinely are like, oh, that'd be great if the two of them, Jerry and Coach, find love on this island. That's great. But I know that every single one of them is thinking in the back of their head, but that means we also have an excuse just to chop their heads off early if we need to in this game.
Yeah,
exactly. And you have to think like it's in like everybody's best interest to kind of be like pushing these two together as like a unit. Sandra's thinking like, and Parvati are thinking like, we're previous winners, like we're gonna have a big target. Russell just wants like any kind of meat shield in front of him. Rob knows that like he's gonna be like a big target, probably not at pre-merge, but like right when they're like getting close to the merge.
But Rob also knows that Coach is a huge fan of him, and he knows that Jerry not so much. And so what this does is it puts people in line for numbers. It also marries what would have been the new players at that point in Coach, the people from Tokachins and such, with people like Jerry, who's an OG villain from these older seasons where some of them have played All-Stars together. So you have a merging of this too, where if you're Rob, you're looking around going, this is best case scenario for me. Why would I be mad at that?
Right. And like Coach is just like so digmatized by Rob. Like it's hilarious.
That's part of the opening episode is Rob going, now I know I can't make it up to that. I probably could, but why would I risk hurting myself? But there's one guy who I know who is a beast, a monster, will prove anything to anybody. And then it just turns to Coach, and Coach's face is literally like, at the moment that they hand it over, it's so funny.
What the hell was he trying to do?
He was trying to show up to Rob.
Coconuts on that huge palm tree that had such an angle that they really had to scoot up and then climb up at an angle. And they decided like, oh, it's too risky for us, but let's see if Coach will do it. And that's
Ozzy when you need
the best moments, which is Sandra and Rob, who are really, I mean, this is the first time they're meeting in a game.
Yeah.
This is their opportunity. This is where they first bond. And so now seeing Edge of Extinction, Winners at War,
Island of
what
the
their
Idols.
legacy has been for the past 10 years, it kind of started with that moment of them making bets on Coach. And that's kind of fun. It was fun to watch that again.
It is fun. And especially because like Rob and Sandra are two sides of like a very opposite coin, right? Like Sandra, like her big strategy is anybody but me, which has proven to be very successful. But Rob is like, he even says himself in the premiere, like, I tried to play back, like tried to play like subtle this time, but I can't help it. Like nobody else is doing anything. Like I have to be the leader of this tribe. And this is Rob's problem, is that like he really can't help himself, but putting himself in that leadership role.
Listen, when you're speaking on Rob's behalf, you have to do the accent, or I'm not going to hear it.
I can't do a Boston accent. I can do it's getting the best of me.
Yeah, you do
We'll
it
get
like
there. We'll get there. So Beth, I think you were restarting your computer when we were talking about over on the Heroes Tribe. The first thing Colby does is he goes up to Candace. He's like, so you know who these players are? Yeah, who's Suri? Where's she from? And it's very disappointing because Colby was like such like the golden boy, like coming out of Australia, right? And like he is like him and Rupert are probably like the heroes of Survivor. If you're trying to like label anybody, so to see him like coming like so unprepared and then like getting his ass like dragged in the sand by Coach, pretty embarrassing note to start this great season off on.
It's so actually talking about the first episode specifically with the challenges is something that it's interesting to me. Sugar going home because she's weak is questionable. Sugar going home because she's annoying is valid. Sugar was one of the few people that got a bag over for them in the first challenge. And I'm surprised that she never took the advantage to say, I was one of 4 people who couldn't do a puzzle. I'm not alone in that. And I jumped in after 3 people weren't doing it correctly. So I tried to save the day. So if we're going to blame it on puzzle, let's look at the other 3 who were doing that. I'm one of the 3 people who got a bag across the line in the first challenge.
Without a shirt on.
Without a shirt on. I sacrificed my vanity, in the words of Jeff.
Well,
that's one of my favorite lines because it's so stupid. Sugar sacrifices vanity and blah, blah, blah. Scores a point. I'm like, shut up, Jeff. Jeff Probst is so funny. When you go back and you watch these seasons, it's when you see these blatant things that are like, what is happening?
Yeah, right.
Here's the thing, though. She was too busy trying to touch Colby's pee-pee.
Dude,
okay? Like, I mean, seriously, she was all over his jock. And I think listen, maybe the first restraining order ever issued on the island.
That's exactly it. So if that's the real reason, why isn't that being discussed?
Because it's 2010.
that's Allison's excuse for everything this season. It's 2010. But no, I think
Pokemon says it correctly in my opinion here. I think that Sugar went because she was just an easy consensus target on all sides, which is so true. But this further proves the other point that Pokemon said here, which is Colby's never been a strategy guy. Yeah. And also Candace is not a strategy woman. And you have these people who, like, if they were smart, they would recognize the numbers aren't with us and we need Sugar over with us. Colby would cultivate that. Yeah. But because you have the hero not thinking about the strategy and how to use people to your advantage, you think this is annoying. Instead of trying to establish boundaries, but use that flirting to your strength in this game and use her as a number. She's proven herself in another challenge. Maybe she's not the weakest link. Also sitting there saying, yeah, Amanda's the weakest person in the second episode, rather let's go for Amanda. I'm sorry. I love the woman, but Sari is the weakest person out of all of them for physical challenges, not Amanda. You know how many challenges Amanda has won? She's not a weak player. So those don't make sense to me. So what I see, and it just brightens my eyes a little bit more of how good the villains tribe is that the heroes tribe is all ego and worry so much about how they appear rather than just getting the blood on their hands. And the villains don't give a shit. And that's what I love about the theme of these first 2 episodes. It sets it up.
Let me say something real quick, and this just struck me funny as I watched last night's episode, and the whole Colby Sugar saga was going on. She's rubbing up again. She won't leave me alone, and then they got he's in the dark, and he's sitting. He's like, oh God, I can't get any sleep. It's like he's stuck with the drunk girl he brought home from the bar, and he can't get rid of her. I can't get any sleep. This is a nightmare. What was I thinking? This is the only thing that I could think of when that was going through my mind. It's like, look, you're a hot guy. A girl's going to be attracted to you. You can't get crazy. Okay. Let her massage your back. Let her play with your hair. Go to sleepy sleep.
Well, the thing with Colby is like, I feel like he's like too much of like a cranky old man this season. That's the thing. Like, this isn't like the young ingenue that went all the way in Survivor Australia, right? He's we're showing that like right off the bat about Colby.
Movie star. He'd been in a movie.
he literally calls himself Rusty in confessional. So, and that's like one of the first things he says, like to the audience here. But so I'm watching this season with my boyfriend who has never seen this season. So I'm really trying to like pick his brain and see like what he's thinking. And he said that like it came down to Rupert or Sugar. Like that's the impression that he got. And so we were talking about like, who would you vote off between those two, Rupert or Sugar? And he said that he would probably vote off Sugar just because like she's like easy to get rid of for her first vote. But I actually think that Rupert is probably who I personally would try to go for a lot of reasons. Like the first one being like that broken toe is just like so useless. But like I don't think like anything physically in the challenges really change if he doesn't break his foot. Like that's how little I think he like contributes. If we look at like the puzzle, like during that immunity challenge, Sugar and Sari and who was the other person? We're like all trying to like figure out like the puzzle, and Rupert's just like standing off to the side, like.
My favorite is that he's looking so intently at.
Right. He's like trying to make himself look busy.
I wish I could have put that boat together.
Yeah, it's always that guy that's going.
And then I wish I could have come back. And I'd had to look at this shit.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
And here's the thing too, like to me, like Sugar is always going to be like somebody that can everybody if there's like a tough vote that like we just need to like get rid of somebody, get her out, like save her for that. Rupert is the one that's like such like and I'm sorry Rupert if you're watching, Rupert's just like a dumb oaf that like I can't count on him not to be like easily manipulated, swayed by somebody else and be like a foil in my plan. Like he's the type of person that like if you're the last person to talk to him going into tribal council, you can totally flip him and to do like whatever you need him to do. And that's dangerous to me.
I need to make a public announcement. Not everyone's opinions are reflected off of Tyler Lyons.
Exactly. Here's the thing about Rupert though. Mm-hmm. I would challenge your thought there because Rupert proves throughout this season that he is unwavering with his loyalty to a certain group of people to literally his tribe's detriment. Yeah. And so I don't know if he's as equally wavered and that kind of thing. I think he's actually the opposite, which is I'm not going to hear any logical argument because I made my word and I am a hero. And I have to stick up for what I was brought to this island.
That's so true, especially when he's like literally on a tribe that's like labeled hero. You know damn well he's gonna like lean into the theme of that like so much.
Here's the thing, okay? When I first watched this show, when this show came out, I was 12, and I watched this show from the beginning onwards, and Rupert was always a character I rooted for because he was a grizzly guy with a warm heart. But I never, even I was a preteen and onwards, ever thought like he was some kind of amazing game player. I thought he was good at challenges, the physical physical parts of the show, and I thought he was a really fun, rootable character. But I never thought that he was necessarily super strategic. He will always sacrifice himself out of pure loyalty or for what is right than he will for any game purpose.
Yeah. And that's why I say like Rupert is kind of the embodiment of like this whole heroes tribe, right? When we see like they're so heroic in like how they build the camp, how they have like this like amazing like food and water and shelter and like doing all of like the basics of Survivor. And like meanwhile we look at the villains tribe, Rob's like bitching about like he's the only one doing work while they pan over to Coach like doing like Tai Chi out on the beach.
Oh, that was
and amazing.
And they said that like
that Coach is the one sitting there going, some people can't handle it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Just like,
right. But like my point being like I think they said they rebuilt that shelter like 4 or 5 times and like it's just a mess. But like that is the difference between the heroes and the villains here. Is like the heroes are just totally one track minded about what Survivor is, when like none of that shit really matters. What matters is like the social connections, the strategy, like the human chess of Survivor that the villains did so well. And we just see like all season long, they just like run circles strategy wise around all of these heroes, and they get totally played from start to finish. And like, so you can have like the best shelter, you can like have a chicken to like wring its neck and eat like before the challenge. But like, I mean, like, look at how, like, we're going to talk about episode 2, but like, look at how James and Steph were communicating with each other. Like how dysfunctional they are.
That is a whole other.
And here's the thing about that. James is right. But because Stephanie, like, here's the thing. Okay. Stephanie's another person, very popular player. America loved her. And she does have a lot of really redeeming Survivor characteristics about her. However, she's incredibly stubborn. And we've seen this in all of her seasons. And then you put her against James, who is just about, why aren't we winning? We are the most physical group of ever assembled people, which is not a lie. Like, if you look at that team, especially with the guys, if Rupert hadn't broken his toe in the first thing, and you look at the women, Amanda, I mean, again, the argument that she is weak is a weak argument, because she won how many individual immunities? Like,
the argument with Amanda should have been, she's so well connected, right? Like,
she went to final two seasons in a row. Why would we keep her here when she not only has 2 really great connections on this tribe, but has an equally amazing connection with other final 2 person on the other tribe? That should be the argument.
Well, not only Parvati, but don't forget Courtney in China as well.
Oh my gosh, yes, 2 people over there. She's the most well-connected person on this cast.
Yeah.
And so you have to sit there and, like, that should be your argument. Or you should be saying, exactly to your point, why aren't we getting rid of Rupert, who can't bring what he needs to in this game and isn't helpful at camp, is causing a little discomfort because he's in pain and can't provide the way he wants to, and all those different, like, that's when you should get rid of him.
Yeah. And
I love James because he's not wrong. He's kind of saying what everyone's thinking. But what I have a problem with is when Stephanie's voted out at the end of episode 2, and she turns around and says, "Good luck, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Shut your mouth." Let me tell you something. That would have been the first time. You said that to me. It'd be the first time ever a torch was shoved up someone's asshole.
Here's the thing, though. She came at him first, though.
Yeah, but you don't tell someone to shut. That was just rude. She didn't say anything along the lines that warranted that kind of response.
And that's the thing. She said the next time, y'all, which she was turning the thing where he had said y'all and then blamed it on Stephanie. So she was doing the same thing where she was saying y'all, but she meant James. Lose a challenge. Maybe don't talk to your teammates disrespectfully or whatever. And then saying shut your mouth is exactly proving Stephanie's point, because it's rude as fuck and it doesn't help you be seen in a good light. But at the same time, like, she was definitely fishing for one last little thing to get in that. You know?
Yeah.
Well, I think that there's a lot of things going on here with Stephanie. And but I think the biggest thing is, like, so the and this is like just one example of like how incredible Sari is at this game. Is that like the difference between like Sari and Amanda, who are like so well connected, and then we have Tom and Stephanie, who are like equally like super strong connected. The first thing we see Sari do when she talks to Amanda, she says, "We have to keep our distance from each other because people are going to be saying Micronesia, Micronesia, Micronesia." Whereas like Tom and Stephanie, they were like this, like right off the bat. And it was to their detriment.
They literally said in the first episode, "But we can't be this close." But then every shot that there is of them at camp, they're next to each other. So they didn't know how to stick with it.
All they have to do is hang out with
different people, and you see Amanda with different people.
All they have to do is hang out with Colby. He doesn't know who the fuck is with who.
Yeah.
I will say though, I'm not as like thumbs up on James and thumbs down on Steph as you guys are. I really, Stephanie's one of my favorite Survivor players ever. I just think like her scrap is just like really admirable. And I think another thing working against her this season is, and she called it out in confessional. She said, I think Rupert's a little jealous of my popularity. And that is, we have to like rewind back to 2010. So like Rupert was like the biggest like name of Survivor before Stephanie came along. And when Steph was like the last one to survive out of her tribe on Palau, America loved that underdog story. And Rupert and Stephanie have always had like a little tiff with each other because Rupert just can't handle like somebody else being like so damn popular.
What's interesting to me too is, and I could be very wrong because I've only seen Guatemala when it came out. I don't remember it that well, but she was brought back as a returning player for Guatemala, which was Danny Boatwright's season that she won.
Yeah.
I don't remember her being very heroic in that season. I thought that she was very much.
Yeah, I mean, like, she definitely didn't have as like heroic of an edit for sure. She said some really like bullying things.
That that's why I think it's interesting, because you have someone who has had both edits be on the hero tribe next to the person Rupert, who has probably had the most heroic edit of all time. I would argue still has the most heroic edits. And I completely agree. I wish that instead of targeting, first of all, I wish that instead of targeting another woman, they had targeted Rupert. Like, I think that they probably could have gotten votes to go against Rupert in that situation. He's not bringing anything to challenges. You know how long it heals how long toes take in order to like heal themselves. By the time it's healed here, he's going to be crushing you guys in immunity challenges when it's individual, not as a team. So he's not bringing anything to us as a team right now. Why are we getting rid of him? And we're doing all the stuff at camp anyway.
Well, the problem is that like as soon as they hit the Heroes Beach, like before Sugar was even voted out, Tom and Sari were like lining their shots up to like take each other out, and because of that, they're just not able to like. Tom and Stephanie are just like not able to get like the votes that they need to get Rupert out in this next vote. And that's the thing about this season is that like even like a simple vote like Sugar or Steph being voted out has such like repercussions like throughout like the rest of the season, right?
And that's exactly my point, you know? So it's so interesting that if the team instead of had said, let's get someone easy out in Sugar, but instead had taken any of those shots that they were originally all kind of their little groups were thinking about doing. If it had been a Stephanie first, if it had been a Sari, an Amanda, a Rupert, any of those people first, it would have made a very different season.
Yeah.
And if any of them had the social and strategic wherewithal to say, Sugar is somebody who has a villain-like level of gameplay. I think people were talking about this earlier in the chat, that she was somebody who wasn't afraid to flip on people in Gabon, although I can't really blame her for that. And you need some of that when you talk about scrap. Like Sugar has scrap just like Stephanie does. Stephanie's, this is going to come across as a really mean slander on Sugar, and I don't mean it that way, but Stephanie's more put together as a person.
Yeah, totally.
And Sugar comes across, and she talks about, I mean, Sugar is very self-aware. Yeah. Like in her confessional, she says, I need a protector. In real life, I seek out people who are going to protect me, and I need this in this game. So she's very self-aware. She understands her dependency on other people. But she also can think for herself. And that's a really good ally to have on your side, as annoying as she might be on the tribe. Yeah. So it's really interesting to me that the villains
go ahead, sorry.
Kind of do a similar easy first vote, but there's more thought into it than, which we'll get to that next week. Yeah. But there's more thought to that than there is with this one, in my opinion.
I also just want to talk about James in terms of his just his like entitlement, like when he is talking to Stephanie and Tom. And I just really applaud Tom for like being like such a stand-up guy and like not letting James like I mean, like James is like belittling her at tribal council, and Tom's like, of course she's gonna defend herself. You're like attacking her. And to me, like this is the difference between like a manager and a leader. Is James like cussing out his tribe mates like during that cube challenge, where Rob is like motivating everybody, like making his voice be heard in like a positive, like let's come together and work as a team, where James is like pointing the finger and saying like, no, you fucked up. And like that is such an like an applicable thing in real life, seeing like how those two things just like totally poison a tribe or a job or anything else in life, compared to like effectively leading a tribe. And it showed.
And I should say, I'm not sitting here like Team James anti-Stephanie. That's not how I feel at all.
Sure.
I think that his points are correct. And I think that Stephanie was way too defensive because she was absolutely doing what he said that she was doing. I don't think the way that he was treating her and saying and talking to her was appropriate. I'm saying I can understand why he was talking like that, because she's not exactly innocent on her side either. But they're both... You have someone who's scrappy, isn't afraid to stand up for herself, is a strong woman. And you have a guy who has, in his past seasons, has been the gullible guy, has been the, the guy who's like the brute force of the tribes, has been manipulated by people flirting with him, Parvati. You have somebody who probably going into this season is a little sour on women, specifically strong ones that stand up against him. So there's a lot of little play aspects at this too. So I want to say that I see both sides of this. I think they're both at fault. And I think that Stephanie, unfortunately, was just not able to recover for herself. Yeah. And I think that they chose the wrong person to go after in Amanda. Instead, they probably should have tried to recruit Amanda over to their side with Suri.
Here's what I think should have happened. I think, and we can talk about some more character stuff after this, but like I think that Tom should have gone to Candace and say like, listen, Suri's loyalty is always going to be to Amanda over you. Like he was right that like Candace was that swing vote, and Candace, like just like Sugar, like she's a flower that needs a little more watering to be reassured and to kept alive as like an alliance member. But like the proof's in the pudding. Like Suri's loyal. Like Suri went to the end with Amanda. Amanda played with James. Like they are just like twice. Twice. They're such a strong like threesome, and you have to think that like you're going to be fourth on that totem pole no matter what. Like you're going to be the expendable one when it comes down to it. Whereas like here, like me and Steph work together, but like we have Colby with us. We've never played with him before, but like we are a group of equals. And if you come with us, you will have just as much say as the three of us do. Whereas like you are going to be going to Suri and saying, okay, what's the plan? Instead of being like somebody in the driver's seat for what's to come.
I also think Tom should have gone to Rupert and said, you and I are the OG heroes with Colby. These new people are disrespecting other people on the tribe, are not acting very heroically. Proof is in the pudding there. Like, are they right in some things? Probably, but the way they're going about it is creating a lot of, discordance in the, in the group here. So why aren't you joining the original fireman? Yeah. Why aren't you joining the cowboy? And we are people of principle, and you need to join us. Yeah. Because if you don't, that's not looking very good for you.
And I think that's a pitch that works on Rupert too. Like Rupert's like and Allison, like you'll probably agree with this too. Like I feel like Rupert's the kind of person you just say like, Rupert, you are such a great guy. You like this hero's tribe wouldn't be a hero like without you, and like we need you to come over to the heroic side, right? Like that is like all Rupert needs to hear to be like, oh yeah, I am the hero. I will go with you.
He is such a complex. I love Rupert. Like I don't want to be ugly, but I just think this rubbed his ego.
Yeah, certainly.
Just putting someone like Rupert as a hero, it's just
but a good player leans into that.
And he breaks his damn toe. How the fuck did he even break his toe?
But a good player leans into that, right, Allison?
Yeah, but how did he break his toe,
though? In that sandbag challenge.
I forgot it. Yeah, you lean into it. I would. Yeah. What are you trying to say? If you told me I was the hero and you needed me, you think I would feel needed?
Yeah,
it's true.
So meanwhile, like over on the villain side, we teased it a little bit, but the cameraman definitely did not catch Rob fainting in the woods. We saw like the camera do like a whoa type of thing to like almost as if we're like seeing it like through Rob's eyes, which is like
said in the chat they had to reshoot the fainting.
Yeah, that's what I think. Because like all we see is Jerry being like, Rob, wake up. And he's like,
can you just look at me? Can I do my impersonation of Jerry for a second doing this?
I'll be Rob.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
Rob, look at me. Rob. Can you what do you need?
I need help.
Okay, I'll go get help. This is Jerry running to get help after someone has fainted in the fucking woods.
Amber.
Hey, Amber.
She literally she did 2 steps that were quick and then just casually walked away.
It's like she got distracted by a squirrel.
That's my favorite thing.
Squirrel.
You just have to know that like Jeff was like totally milking this moment. It kind of reminded me of like how much he milked like the Caleb medevac in Co-Rom. You know, like before they like take him out on a stretcher, he's like, Caleb, you really played your heart out in this game. Like you are such a heroic figure. Like we love you so much. Like you would have won this game if you would have stayed. But like the medical team, they say you can't go on anymore. But it's that same kind of like ego stroking. Like Jeff like really loves his like a straight like alpha male like leader of the tribe thing, and it's just like so apparent here.
I mean, if I fainted on Survivor, which would be day 1, the minute I hit the beach, they would catch it. It'd be so dramatic. It would be historic.
You'd get the treatment of what's that one girl from Survivor Philippines that got taken out, but it was like technically a quit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, she's the blonde hair and Dana.
Dana, yeah. Allison would get the Dana treatment. Like Jeff just like walks up to Dana and she looks like she's like literally about to die, right? And Jeff's like, well, it's up to you, but like if you leave, like it's gonna be considered a quit. It's not a medevac. So like
that still grinds my gears to this day. Where the medical staff was like, she's obviously in a lot of pain. I think that she could stay in the game, but we're not like they didn't definitively say,
right?
Oh, she's like out of the game or she's in the game. The medical team put it up to her. And if someone is in that much pain that they want to
literally looked like death.
She like, if I slip you a 20, will you stay at the Medivac?
Right.
Yeah, it's funny though, because I bitch whenever I watch Survivor, I'm always bitching about everything that they're doing. Like, I would die, I would never, like, ew. Like, and I was doing it last night. And of course, my son casually just looks over and he's like, so I wonder why they haven't called yet. You know, just because I'm sitting bitching, I would die, I wouldn't make it. You know, and his girlfriend is like, oh, I'll give anything to see your mother on Survivor.
So would all of America.
I would die. I'd hit the beach. I'd get sand in my crotch, in my underwear, and be like, I need medical. I don't know what's in this sand.
I have tiny little scrapes.
I have scrapes in my badge.
But you know, like maybe
Australian doctor over here to check it out.
I need now. Is Colby available? I'm gonna faint. I need Colby to catch me.
Well, you never know, Allison. Like you could have like a Chrissy or Audrey 1.0 type of or Aubrey type of trajectory where like you're like sick the first few days, but then you like go on to be this like badass player.
Let me tell you
know.
something. Season 1, Survivor, there were maggots living in one chick's knee.
Yeah.
Okay? Maggots.
I remember
She didn't get medevac. They didn't even come out and check her ass. And she still played the game. So you break a damn toe or bite your tongue or whatever the hell happens to you, you get zero sympathy from me.
What is the when I think of weird things that have happened to survivors, whether they're injuries or something, I think it was Jessica from Millennials Gen X with the bug in her ear.
Well, no, that was Jenny in Co-Wrong. Remember?
Co-Wrong,
Yeah, that's right. Oh, God, I felt so bad for her. She was my winner pick that season. I felt so bad.
She didn't get evacuated, but you remember it was like 3 days of her being like,
I do. And I guarantee you, like, if it was like another day, Jeff would have gone up to her and being like, well, you know, you can leave if you want, but like, you're quitting, you know, like it's.
yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Guaranteed if that happened to Rob, he'd be like, we're here for you, buddy. Do you need me to help you off the ground? Like, it's a medevac for sure.
Rob needs to replace Jeff Probst as a host. Do y'all remember in Survivor Thailand, like season 5, when that punk rock dude was in the water and they just showed him walking and a wave comes and all of a sudden you see his feet flip in the air and he goes, ah! And he got like, I don't know if it was a jellyfish or something got him. And he was like, oh, and they got him on the feet. He's like, oh. And they're like, you just got stung. I'm going to piss. And like Ken Stabber's like, I'll just piss on his foot. Like it wasn't anything, but it was like the was so fake. It's like they had to dub it. Like somebody had to go back and make that sound effect back in those days. Because that motherfucker was not wearing a mic in that water. Okay. There's no way.
Not in 2002 or
That was
whatever.
like in 2002. Yeah.
Allison, I love that you don't remember like most of the stuff from Heroes versus Villains, but you remember that random moment from Survivor Thailand.
Which I don't remember it, but I believe it.
Right. Yeah.
I haven't seen Thailand since it came out, though. I need to go back and rewatch it, though.
Me too.
The only reason why I remember that season so well is because, like, my son was 4 years old when Survivor started, and he tried to watch it with me, but God bless him. But 2002, Thailand is the first season that my son, he was 6 years old, watched from start to finish. And a 1 hour episode took me 3 hours to watch with him because I had to fucking stop and explain everything that was going on to a 6-year-old. Okay. That's how I know that season so well. In my defense, you're not going to get that kind of history out of me very often. Okay.
So what you're saying is we should do a rewatch of Thailand so you can be the expert on it.
If we did a rewatch of that season, I would know everything.
I don't understand how your mind works, Allison. Thailand is like the most forgettable season.
It is. And the
It's
fact
like
that I
the
remember
OTT.
season 1 and the chick with the maggots in her knee.
It's
Like how do I know that?
Thailand is like the OTT of Survivor.
That's why I remember.
Exactly.
I don't think so.
Maybe
I think there's
Gabon
way
is
more
the
forgettable
OTT.
seasons.
Listen, Thailand was great because people they didn't merge tribes. It was the first time that he didn't say, I didn't say merge. Jeff was like, I didn't say merge tribes, but he made the two tribes live together and pick each other. And they were sleeping in a cave with and people were peeing in the sand right next to where they sleep. And it was just hilarious because the New York cop was like, yeah, they're like pissing where they sleep. I don't get it. It made no sense to me. And I just thought that was so funny. Anyway.
Well, there you have it, guys.
Survivor history with Allison.
Yeah, Kelly. I was going to say, if you have any questions about Survivor Thailand, apparently Allison is
the
go-to. Yeah, or
add me on Twitter.
So I think like I think that's pretty much it in terms of like the first 2 episodes. Like it's a lot of setup for what's to come, and we have some exciting pre-merge stuff coming up in the next few weeks.
I agree.
Medical, I've got sandwiches.
I'm here. Right here.
We see some idols.
I would be like, I need medical. I'm hungry.
Yeah. I'm having hunger pains. I can't participate in anything.
I'd be like, I need weed.
You just walked onto the island 5 minutes ago. Yeah, I'm hungry.
Listen.
Can I get a Cliff Bar or something?
Tyler,
yeah.
If you got stung by a jellyfish and it was between me and Beth to urinate on you, on your wounds.
I'll make it easy for you.
Who would you pick?
I don't have the flexibility to be like,
Listen, I'm 43 years old and I'm very in tune with my discrete poisey pads.
Well, there you go. Then
So it
I
would be
guess
very
that's
proven
easy
that
for me.
urination does nothing for it.
It'd be very easy for me to tinkle on your wound.
I'm glad I know that. I feel like a better person now for knowing that information. Yeah, so next week we have some idols come into play. Next week I think Russell finds an idol and I think Tom finds an idol.
Yes.
And it leads to one of the best players of all time having their worst performance in Survivor history. So
Randy
we'll see what
Bailey.
happens
Oh, sorry.
there.
Hey,
No.
before we sign off, there was something I wanted to point out that you
Yeah.
didn't see
Mm.
in this episode.
Wait, what?
Oh, whispering a tribal? Yeah.
Whispering at tribal.
Remember when that wasn't a thing?
That wasn't a
Mhm.
thing. Remember that? But you know why? Because it's 2010.
But
Mhm.
also because people in this season didn't give a shit if people heard what they had to say.
I'm going to
Yeah.
say it. I don't care. Yeah.
Well, and also like everybody came to tribal with like plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. Like these players came prepared, except for Colby. They came prepared for like the strategy of it all. So there wasn't all this like bullshit whispering at tribal. I feel like the immunity idols weren't overblown like they are in Modern Survivor either. I feel like this season is like, in my opinion, the perfect balance of like how many idols should be found and played in a single season. And we'll see how some people get more than one idol this season, which is very, very exciting.
Yeah, so far there's not a hidden immunity idol, but under every damn rock and in every damn tree.
Ooh, I found one.
Right.
Oh, I found one.
On like day like 37 too.
Yeah, I scratched my ass and I pulled a hidden immunity idol out. Do you
What
think
was just in my bag?
it had anything to do with it?
Who do you think? I mean, even though we generally have a sense of what's happening in the season, and everything, I want to know at the end of all of this, at every show that we do, who do you think going into the next couple of episodes, regardless of whatever actually happens in the future, who do you think has set themselves up to be in a really good position? And then we can kind of compare and go, well, did this happen or not? For me, I think it's interesting. And I would say that for the Heroes Tribe, weirdly, Rupert's in the best position because no one, regardless of the fact he's not doing anything, is actually coming for him. And I think that he is going to continue. Like, if I was watching this for the first time, he's weirdly set himself up where everybody seems to be with Rupert socially, and they don't see him as a strategic threat because he's not. And all those different kinds of things, that he's weirdly set himself up in a pretty comfortable situation.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like that is why he is so dangerous, in my opinion, to keep around. Like that is why he should have gone instead of Sugar. Forget the whole broken toe of it all. Like he is like positioned so well. In my opinion, it's Amanda who I think is like the most well positioned, because you have to think like if the target turns on like the pre-existing relationships of it all. I feel like Sari is the one targeted. I feel like James is the one targeted for his bad attitude. Amanda, kind of similar to Rupert. He's not like a strategic powerhouse, but like she contributes like very well to the challenges and just to like camp life and everything. Like she's not somebody to like take out like the first or second vote pre-merge.
I thought about Amanda, but because it could have just been two other votes and then she would have gone this second episode, that's the reason why I didn't. It was that people were willing to take the shot at her over Sari or James.
Yeah.
But I agree. If you're talking about the grand context of who's best socially positioned, I would say Amanda because of all of her connections. But I just decided because she got votes, and it would have been if Sari had decided to go against her, could have been a situation to flip on her. That's why I decided to go for Rupert instead.
I just like, I so clearly, like when I was watching it again last night, like I so clearly would have worked with Tom and Stephanie out of like everybody on the Heroes Tribe.
I would have too.
they're such straight shooters. Like I would never fear that they would like turn their backs on me. Like they're very loyal, like just like stand up people.
Exactly.
Good competitors to like have on my side as well. And I don't know. I feel like I would vibe with them a lot better than I would vibe with like the Amandas and James of Survivor Heroes versus Villains. So that's where I would stand. Allison, who do you think's the best positioned person going into next week?
Colby,
For the Heroes Tribe, yeah.
For the Heroes Tribe.
Hell, what's going on? Colby, can you imagine a strategic conversation between Rupert and Colby?
Oh, we'll see it.
It's interesting.
I can't wait.
We'll see it coming down the stretch.
I call it strategic.
Right.
I don't know what to call it. We'll have to come up with a new
strategic.
adjective. It's an attempt at something.
Well, we'll see it later on in the season when they're just like totally misted by Russell. Out of the villains,
the Villains Tribe, yeah.
Allison, you go first. I need to look at the
Sandra, because she's my boo. She will always be my boo.
Let's see.
I have to say Rob, because even someone like Russell, when there was a threat of Rob potentially leaving the game for medical reasons, everyone realized how much that would impact not only their challenge wins, their ability to live on the shelter. You have people like Coach who are trying to work with him. They're making inroads with people who he potentially needed those inroads with. So the people that need a Rob in the game, and what's nice, this is why I love the Villains Tribe so much, specifically when you have Russell on there, okay? Is that Rob provides a competition that is necessary for a person like Russell to keep on their toes in the game. And Russell's smart enough to realize I need Rob around for a little bit to compete with, because he's basically like a sharpener for my knife. He's going to keep me on my toes. He's going to provide the things, and then I need to sit back and manipulate the situation.
Yeah. Well, like I said about how like Rob and Sandra are two very polar opposite types of players. I feel like Russell is like that third opposite type of player. Like instead of like a coin, it's not a triangle, where like Russell is just such a weasel.
It's a pyramid.
And like there is like literally no morals with his gameplay. There is no like it's like 100% ego, and I feel like interesting because a lot of people consider Russell to be this like strategic mastermind, but we'll get into it. He's very emotionally driven in a lot of his decisions this season in particular, and it's great to see how Rob falls victim of that, and Sandra knows how to manipulate that, and how like one succeeds where the other fails in the very interesting fold that is Russell. I to answer your question though, I think Jerry is probably the best positioned out of like everybody, because I feel like she has that like old school charm that like attracts her to like the Robs and Sandras. Like they have like a little beef, but like I think if push came to shove, they could work with one another. And also we'll see Russell try to bring Jerry in. And then of course, like she has the whole like Coach connection of it all too. And if it comes down to it, I feel like Coach is probably going to get clipped before Jerry if it came down to the two of them being targeted. So I think she's good either way. Allison, what do you think? Or no, you said Sandra. Yeah, Beth, what do you think?
Yeah. And the other thing I would just like to know is that if you watched the first 2 episodes and you even realize Tyson's in this season, congratulations, because it's like trying to find Waldo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is before he had won his season too. This is before
this is his second season. But just like I think he got a half of a confessional. It was like an image of him for a second and then a voiceover as they showed other stuff. But like they didn't. Every time I went back and I watched it again after I watched the episode, when they're introducing the 2 tribes on the map, he's in one shot of the group and he's in no shots of close-ups of people. It's so funny how they just like him enough to put him on a season like this, but he's not Survivor's baby yet.
Yeah.
And I don't mean baby in terms of like
During the
That's
first
easy.
competition, all I needed to see was just him and those cheetah speedos.
So funny.
I went, whoa. Hello. How are you? It's been a while. Shall we shake hands? No? Okay.
Well, I feel like Tyson in this season, we'll see why, but like I feel like a lot of his mistakes this season really form the type of player and the type of winner that he becomes in Survivor Blood versus Water. So I feel like this is like a hard lesson for Tyson this season. And when you have somebody like Russell, it's like so impossible to get like any airtime from anybody else. I mean, Courtney Yates is like one of the biggest personalities out there, and she gets 4 confessionals the entire season.
But here's the thing: she's getting camera time though.
Yes, yeah, especially with Sandra.
I love Courtney. You know, I watched this, and she's not one that I always think of. But watching the first couple episodes where she's like, "What did I do?" to be like on the villains track, I'm like, I love that she's not willing to take shit from people, but that she's also just like a genuinely likable character that's fun to watch.
Is she the one that is scary skinny?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
he's the one that Jeff literally at the finale was like, "So did you get a lot of comments asking if you were anorexic?" And she was like, "Yeah, from you."
Oh my
No
God.
shit. I'm like, what were you preparing ahead of time?
Oh my God, Jeff. 2010.
Because it's 2010.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for us. So we will be back next Wednesday to talk about episodes 3 and 4. Lots of exciting idol plays happening. Who knows what's going to happen there? But definitely check us out. And tomorrow we have our first Patreon exclusive show where we recap RuPaul's Drag Race season 6. Allison and I have never seen. Yeah, Allison and I have never seen any episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. So it's definitely a culture shock. It's like we have lots of questions, and Beth is like the expert for Drag Race. So I can't wait to like talk about all that stuff and inevitably feel like for like not knowing like how like all of this works and everything. But I'm excited. I had a really good time watching the first 2 episodes. So
good.
Yeah.
So watching them.
The first, and I will say, so for those that have seen season 6, the reason why we're doing it is because this is such a strong character-driven season. It's widely considered to be the best season or regular seasons. The challenges are great. It's a fun group of queens. There's drama. There's all these different kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And for those that haven't seen it, we're going to, I think, do 2 episodes a week of that show as well. Season 6 is the only one that has a 2-part opening show. So they split up the cast, similar to, when Big Brother has done that, when they've done half the cast on one night and the other half the other night. So this, in my opinion, and we'll get to it in the show, the second episode has way more personality than the first episode.
I totally agree.
I can't wait for people to see it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and I think, go ahead, Allison. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, is that going to be strictly a Patreon show, the first 2 episodes, or are we going to go ahead and air that here just so people can see what they're missing?
So this first episode of us covering Drag Race is going to it's a patron show, but we're giving it to you guys for free, just as like an exclusive look into like what we're going to be talking about, how we're going to like be covering the season, just to entice you guys a little bit to become patrons of my weekly Meltdown, and you can see all the good stuff we have there.
I misspoke last. I didn't misspeak, but Drag Race season 6 is on Amazon Prime, but you have to pay for it. However, because of Viacom and CBS all coming together, you can actually watch season 6 for free as a part of your subscription to CBS All Access. Now, there are 2 different kinds of Drag Race. There's Drag Race All Stars, and there's Drag Race, like normal Drag Race. What you want is normal Drag Race season 6.
We went through this ad nauseum with me. I apologize.
Yeah, and then Allison was saying Survivor Winners at War season 20, and I was like, no.
I sat through the first 2 episodes of Hero versus Villains last night with my $10,000 subscription to CBS All Access.
Which
And
apparently is not commercial free for you.
not because I only paid $10,000. If I did the $10,000, I'd be commercial free. But I
definitely
don't have
paid the $10 a month to have no commercials because I was binge watching so many seasons of Big Brother and Survivor and such that I was like, I'm not dealing with it.
because my son Spider-Man points out to me, hey, this is on Netflix. You know, we could have skipped commercials.
And I'm like, yeah, that's the whole reason we're doing that
and then I was
season.
like, oh, that's right.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah, so feel free to tune in tomorrow. If you're a patron, we're gonna have that, and then we will publicize that afterwards. We'll make it public after the live show for you all.
Okay?
Yes.
I need patrons to pay for my all access subscription.
Yes, please become a patron so that Allison can watch shows commercial free.
Yes. All right. Well, with that being said, I'm gonna play our little new outro video music thing, and we'll end the show. But we'll see you guys tomorrow to talk about RuPaul's Drag Race. So have a great rest of the evening, and take care, guys. Bye.
Bye.